I was born Antonio Lucio Vivaldi on March 4, 1678, in Venice, a city that shaped much of who I would become. My father, Giovanni Battista Vivaldi, was a violinist at St. Mark's Basilica, one of Venice's most renowned landmarks. From a young age, I was surrounded by music. My father taught me how to play the violin, and I quickly developed a deep love for the instrument and for music in general. I would often accompany him to performances, and I knew early on that I was destined for a life in music. But, as fate would have it, my path also led me toward the church. At 15, I began my studies to become a priest. My family believed this was a secure and honorable path for me, and while I was committed to my religious studies, my heart always seemed to be pulled back toward music. I completed my training and was ordained as a priest in 1703, earning the nickname Il Prete Rosso, or the Red Priest, because of my fiery red hair. Although I was a priest, my health often interfered with my duties. I suffered from a respiratory condition, some say it was asthma, that made it difficult for me to conduct Mass regularly. This health issue became a turning point in my life. With my priestly duties reduced, I found myself with more time to focus on music. That same year, I was appointed as a violin teacher at the Ospedale della Pietà, an orphanage for girls in Venice with a remarkable music program. This position would change everything for me. The Ospedale was a place of great creativity and inspiration. The girls who lived there were not just ordinary students. Many of them were incredibly talented musicians. Teaching them, I had the opportunity to compose music tailored to their skills. Over the years, I wrote countless concertos, sonatas, and sacred works for the girls to perform. The institution became my creative home, and it was there that I truly honed my abilities as a composer. I loved writing concertos, especially the solo concerto form, where one instrument, usually the violin, would take center stage against an orchestral backdrop. My aim was always to create drama and excitement through the music, contrasting fast, virtuosic passages with slower, more lyrical sections. I wanted the soloist to shine, and I took great pleasure in seeing the girls bring my compositions to life. Of all the works I composed, my Le Quattro Stagioni, the 4 Seasons, remains closest to my heart. These 4 violin concertos, one for each season, were meant to capture the very essence of nature. I wanted the listener to hear the birds singing in spring, to feel the oppressive heat of summer, to celebrate the harvest in autumn, and to shiver through the harsh winds of winter. Each movement was a story told through music, painting vivid pictures of the changing seasons. I even wrote sonnets to accompany the music, to help convey the images and feelings I hoped the music would evoke. The 4 Seasons quickly became some of my most popular works, and I'm proud that they continue to be enjoyed by audiences today. Though I found success as a composer and teacher, my career was not without its challenges. During the early part of my life, I enjoyed great popularity, especially in Venice and across Europe. My operas, concertos, and sacred music were well received, and I was able to travel and share my work with audiences far and wide. But as the years passed, the tastes of the public began to change. The Baroque style that I had mastered was starting to fall out of fashion, and the more refined and restrained classical style was beginning to take hold. By the 1730s, it became more difficult for me to find work, and my compositions were not as in demand as they once were. Despite my earlier successes, I struggled financially. In 1740, I made the difficult decision to leave Venice and move to Vienna, hoping that Emperor Charles VI, who had admired my music, would support me. However, shortly after my arrival, the emperor passed away, and with his death, my hopes for securing patronage vanished. I spent my final months in Vienna, struggling with poverty and obscurity. On July 28, 1741, I passed away in relative obscurity, far from the fame I had once enjoyed. I was buried in a simple grave, and at the time of my death, much of my music had fallen into neglect. It took many years after my passing for my music to be rediscovered, but I am grateful that it was. Today, people all over the world continue to enjoy and perform my compositions. It brings me comfort to know that while my life may have ended quietly, my music has lived on. The 4 Seasons, my concertos, operas, and sacred works, these have endured, and through them I am remembered. Looking back on my life, I see that it was music that truly defined me. The priesthood may have shaped my early years, but it was the power of melody, harmony, and rhythm that guided my soul. Though I faced challenges, I am proud of what I left behind. A legacy of music that continues to inspire and move people centuries after I lived. These films have been created to highlight the powerful features of Polyspeaks for you, South Africa's leading accessibility software. Learn more at www.polyspeaks4u.co.za. We invite you to support this meaningful dyslexic initiative, crafted and developed by an individual who personally understands the challenges of dyslexia.